Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Start Your Career in Construction webinar series. I'm happy to have you all here. My name is George Organ, and I'm the founder of Migratrada Network. I'm going to speak about what we do at Migratrada and introduce our guest for today. At Migratrada, what we do is we get migrants into construction, and we help migrants already in construction advance their careers, get job placements, get trainings, help them upskill. And for people who are trying to change careers into construction, we also help them get understand the UK construction industry, help them get job placements, help them qualify, help them register for training programs, help them find job opportunities, on-site experience. That's what we do at Migratrada. If you know anyone who is trying to move careers and get into the construction industry, but is finding it difficult to navigate around, need more information about the construction industry, and Migratrada is the place to be. We are keen on helping migrants get jobs that will help them have more financial security, help them have more stability in the UK. And this is why we exist. So we would like people to engage with us, and speak about what they want. And we have partners across different sectors, from training providers, from job placing companies that support us with all the things that we need. And we always refer candidates to trainings and job placements. So um, good to have you all here once again. My name is George Organ, and welcome everybody. I'm just going to introduce our guest for today. We don't want to waste your time. We know all of you have amazing things planned out for the weekend. And we also know that for migrants, this is a very crucial topic. We can't speak about jobs, speak about settling in the UK, speak about the construction industry without also addressing the core problems that we have as migrants. It's not easy to migrate from your home country, wherever you're coming from, Africa, South America, Europe. It's not one of the easiest things to do, but with clear guidance and support from professionals like Peju, it makes it a lot easier. And we felt that Migratrada, we will not be doing our audience justice if we continue to speak about jobs and construction when a lot of people are having difficulties with the new thresholds being changed, immigration policies being changed. We hear about the white paper, we hear about whatever paper they call it, it's always very troubling. We all have one person that needs that support. We also know one person that is struggling, that's trying to settle in. And Peju, our guest for today, is also a migrant. She moved here. She'll tell you her story. She'll tell you how, she'll tell you about her business. She'll tell you about how she has helped people settle in the UK, help companies as well as individuals also bring in staff from abroad. She will give you all the juicy details. So I will just speak about a little bit about her, then I'll let her just share. Peju is one of the UK leading immigration and compliance consultants. She's been doing it for 17 years. It's a lot of time, 17 years. Please take the floor and introduce yourself and tell us all the things you need to know. Tell us about your migrant journey. Tell us about Michelle Belle. Tell us about all the amazing things that we need to know about you and what you guys do and how you're going to help address and tell us about all the services that you guys offer at Michelle Belle. Thank you. The floor is
Thank you so
yours.
much.
You're
Thank you so much,
welcome.
George, for
Thank
inviting me
you.
to your platform. And
Thank you.
a very good morning to everyone who sort of joined us today. My sole sort of goal today is to make sure that you find this session very useful, hopefully to also answer all of the questions that you have. Please do not wait till the end of the session before you start sort of, putting your questions into the question and answers. And for those I want to ask sort of with voice as well, that'll be okay when you get to that point. So Georgia said, my name is Peju and I'm a migrant myself. I relocated to the UK in 2005 when my older daughter was just 1. And it was under what we call the highly skilled migrant program back then, which is the predecessor, well, I would say, of the skilled workers that you have now. The early skilled migrant program, I think it was then sort of transitioned into tier one migrant, tier one sort of migrant services. And then eventually, if it was changed again, and a form of it became some of what you see now as, global talent and things like that. So since relocating, I knew the challenges that migrants face, some of the ones I faced myself, and it was one of the reasons why I came into this career, to ensure that those sort of coming sort of behind every other sort of migrant coming to settle in the UK can get the right information, the right support to settle quickly and well as well, because there can be instances where people sort of dance around before getting to settlement for reasons that perhaps UK immigration changes and different things like that. So it's the reason why I sort of set up Michelle Belle. Since 2008, we are regulated by the Immigration Advisory Services at the highest level, which means that we can do all things immigration, whether it's individual immigration or sort of corporate immigration. Individual immigration, I think, was the main immigration space in the UK for such a long time, speaking about the highly skilled migrants. And then the work permit was always there, which is what has transitioned into skilled worker visas. It has always been there. It's just that there's been a lot of changes as well. So changes, we're going to talk about that. Changes are a common thing in UK immigration. And one of the things that I'm hoping to share with you guys today is how to bulletproof yourself against these changes, to the extent that they do not harm your migrant sort of journey. They don't harm they don't sort of derail you from your path to settlement. But yes, skilled workers always been there as well. We've assisted skilled workers, work permit holders. We've assisted a lot of companies that were sort of looking to hire staff to ensure their business continuity and things like that. So that's pretty much the rest of what we do. We also assist our family visas. So any visa at all, family visas, whatever that may be, we'll be able to advise and then represent you to the Home Office if you choose for us to represent you. After our advice, usually our advice sessions are so crucial, because at the end of your advice session, you would have known exactly what you want to do and how you want to proceed. I've sort of worked with developed UK immigration department in Capita, one of the largest sort of local governments in the United Kingdom. I developed that as well, their immigration services, and worked with a lot of businesses. So I believe that I have a lot of nuggets to give to the group here today that would help your migration journeys to be successful.
Thank you, Peju. Thank you. It's a very sensitive topic, and I know it means a lot to everybody who has taken our time to be here today. But we'll just dive into questions. I want it to be as interactive as possible, and informative as possible as well. People would leave here feeling equipped to start on their journey, or maybe advise a family or friend who's going through an immigration challenge at the moment. But I'm keen to know what's the main UK immigration pathway available to skilled workers today?
So yes, I think with the skilled worker sort of changes, there's so many immigration routes, that people can just sort of check when they sort of go to like gov.uk and think, what are the routes. But for skilled workers, it's mainly, as we know, the skilled worker visas. There are quite a few under the skilled worker visas as well. Just like most people know is the skilled worker visas. But there's another one I'd like to throw in as well, which might be applicable to some people. But it's called a UK expansion worker. That used to be, that is what they've used to replace the previous representative of an overseas company visa. But so if you've ever worked in an overseas company and you want to set up the first UK branch, then you want to think about a UK expansion worker visa. It's there as well. Your company will still need to have a sponsor license, almost like the skilled worker visa, but that is another route that is there. So basically, I will put all of that on those skilled worker visas anyway. Of course, there is a global talent visa. Global talent visa is not nearly as easy to get or to acquire as a skilled worker visa, but it's quite an interesting one, because if with a global talent visa, you do not necessarily need a job offer to get your to get your stay in the United Kingdom. you can stay off your own back, which is I did say it was the one that I felt was replaced the highly skilled migrant program that I came in with about in 2005. The only difference, of course, is with the global talent, you need to be endorsed by an endorsing body, and there are specific sort of career paths that would be able to apply for the global talent, unlike the highly skilled in those days where it was just a point-based system. And also the good thing about the global talent as well, which apart from the fact that you do not require an employer to sponsor you, so you can set yourself up in business, or you can work in any any sort of field that you would like as well. And you could be a technical person. For example, if you're thinking about perhaps in the tech space or the endorsement, the IT space, you could be a technical person. Or if you could actually get your endorsement, from the business angle. So if you're a sort of entrepreneur and you have, businesses that you've invested in that are sort of growing in the commercial investment or digital product expertise, you could qualify for a global talent visa. And that's why one of the reasons I said it's not exactly the easiest thing to do, but with good planning, and especially those that are on maybe sort of graduate visas and they keep waiting for 2 years, waiting for an employer to sponsor them. One of the things I would say is you could also start having a plan B, which is planning for a global talent application from the get-go as well, and thinking, how do I make sure that I meet the eligibility to apply for a global talent visa in the event that, for example, there are no employers sponsoring me. And I think we're going to speak about that a little bit as well, about this no employer sort of, sponsoring people and, being a bit challenging and things like that. We're going to speak about that. So yes, the global talent visa is there. There's also the innovator founder visa as well, which is just basically talking about that visa is there for if you want to set up and run an innovative business in the United Kingdom. One of the key thresholds for that is it must be something that's different from anything else in the market. As you can imagine, that's quite a high threshold and a high bar to achieve. And one of the things I particularly do not like very much in UK immigration is to give, the Home Office and any of their assessors the bandwidth to use discretion very, very much. So whilst all of this innovator founder, global talent, while they say, yes, you must do this and that, but they are assessors, they are people who have to endorse your application. And sometimes no matter what you put in there, it might come back as a no. That endorsement might come back as a no. And then you have to sort of try again and, try to sort of make it work and look at that. So there's that element there. But most important thing for the innovator founder visa is it's quite expensive as well. You have to show you have an innovative business, and most importantly, something different from anything else in the market. And it has to be endorsed first. Once you get your endorsement, either from the global talent or the innovator founder, then you're able to proceed to successfully apply for a visa. The endorsement is a key issue at those stages. While I've spoken about skilled worker visas, there was something I omitted. I'll sort of go back as well, where if you're thinking about running an innovative business in the United Kingdom to get an endorsement, you could decide to do that from the skilled worker perspective as well, thinking about it from a self-sponsorship position. Because if your company successfully trades and you can register that company as a sponsor, with a sponsor license as well, and you can be sponsored in your company as a business, just the same way as a business owner, just the same way you would have done via the innovator visa route as well. So that is something that you can think about. So right now in the United Kingdom, there is not a lot more for skilled workers outside of these work visa categories that I have sort of mentioned. There are other visa categories, but it doesn't really apply mostly to general sort of skilled worker visas, skilled worker visas, or people that have sort of come to the United Kingdom to study and are thinking of how to transition. Many of the other visa categories would depend on individual sort of backgrounds, if they wanted to check whether they have some sort of maybe ancestry visa ties or any other thing. So I'll just focus on these three main ones that we've spoken about today.
Oh, thank you, Peju. I think something just crossed my mind as you were speaking, and two things actually, two things.
Sure.
What what's the success rate like? Because we hear all these things, the different types of visas. Do really people really get these visas? What's the level of success? Because and I think also it's also important for people to use the right channel or to use qualified immigration consultants, because it brings me to my next question of how do you tell the real from the fake? Because we all hear about a lot of fraud going on, a lot of people being cheated out of their money, their hard-earned funds, and it puts people in a dilemma. Sometimes, it puts them in a critical position where they can't even, there's no way out of it, and it's too late for them to make amends or make other steps. How do people tell the real from the fake? How do people tell the real from the fake? What should they look out for? What stories are lies that people really tell people, and when they come to tell you somebody gave them this false hope, you laugh about, because it's good for us to educate the people out here what's in that kind of situation.
Thank you so much, George. I think that's a really sort of crucial point for us to discuss. You're right. There, with everything, there is always, they sort of, fake, advices or offerings out there. And one of the ways to determine who is, the right advisor is firstly advisors who are regulated. So the UK advice is very regulated. Anything that an advisor says, like myself, is regulated. If you act on anything I say, for example, and it went sort of badly, you could call out the advisor for that with their regulatory body. So one of the things I would say is, if you're going to seek advice, perhaps you want to make sure that you're seeking advice from actually a regulated one, because any sort of regulatory organization would know that they have duty and codes of conduct to abide with, and they would not just give you a wrong advice or make false promises that they can't deliver, because that's quite huge for them. So I think that's one of the key fundamental, stare that I would ask everyone today that might need advice, or anyone that needs advice. On the government site, UK.gov.uk, when they all speak about all the stuff, different kind of visas, they usually say things like, if you need immigration advice, because if you call the Home Office directly, they have a helpline, but their helpline does not give advice. And the reason why their helpline does not give advice is because they are not advisors themselves. Usually the helpline can only speak about one specific visa situation that they've been recruited to deal with. In the Home Office, they're all different departments. They might, if you call the advisor for global talent, they cannot tell you anything about skilled worker visa, because the only sort of tick boxes they have is about the global talent. And guess what? It's only tick boxes they have. They do not have like all the knowledge about UK immigration law and how to look and advise you. So they don't, but they advise you to say, look, if you need immigration advice, then use the register, go to the Immigration Advisory Authority and look for the register, and you can then search based on either your postcode or perhaps just referrals from people that you know. Be wary about, I suppose those that don't, are not regulated to give you advice. That being said, most people, I think this is where they've sort of fall-foul a little bit, George, is where they're sort of taking advice from other people that have sort of migrated before them. And there's nothing wrong in, just picking the minds of your peers and colleagues. But I think once you want to make informed decision and advice, I'll probably say, please do go for a regulated advice to ensure that you don't fall into that kind of situation.
So I can refer to my immigration consultant as my GP, because can I tell you guys anything? Can I share everything? Because a lot of us have funny stories, and sometimes we feel that if we don't go through the funny routes, we can't share how deep our situation is. So are we able to share anything with you, tell you how bad the situation is, and expect that there's the confidentiality, and also there's the right counsel?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we are bound by, a lot of code, of which confidentiality is one as well. And anyone can sort of tell us anything. When migrants come to us for advice, the main thing at the back of our mind is, how do we resolve the situation that they found themselves? Because the migrant had the reason for coming to the UK or for wanting to come to the UK. For those who are here already and perhaps their immigration sort of status has kind of gone precarious, that is why I did mention at the very beginning that we're registered at the highest level. We handle all sort of cases. There are those that when they approached us, they didn't even have any immigration status. They had become sort of maybe illegal in the United Kingdom, and nobody goes off to the Home Office, telling the Home Office, oh God, I was just approached by, Peju who does not have a leave. You need to go and get Peju now, because the goal is not that. The goal is to help that individual regularize back towards going to that settlement. Remember, that was what I mentioned from the very beginning, is to get them as quickly as possible to settlement. So all of the advice, all of the solution that I give and my team gives in my company is to reduce that journey as much as possible. There might be those out there that would want to keep you in the loop for as long as possible, because of course, every time you come back and you're looking for advice, you're going to pay for advice, representation. And that's why sometimes some people just give visas. They don't really care about your end goal. We work from your end goal and we bring it back. And sometimes if it's gone a bit precarious, you're right, there's confidentiality. We do not provide that. To be honest, if we have to represent you to the Home Office, we would have to provide the background information anyway. But we would have been doing it from the position of law, guiding you and ensuring that your pathway in the UK is safeguarded as much as possible.
Thank you, thank you. That brings me to another question. The skills shortage occupation list was recently updated. What does it mean to new entrants and employers? People looking for the COS, the almighty COS,
COS, I
and
know.
yeah, what does it mean? You know?
Absolutely. I think that's a very valid question as well. That has reduced the amount of, so this was July 22nd. The skilled worker pathway has seen a lot of changes since 2023, ending 24, significant changes that sort of shaped the ways company hire in the United Kingdom, especially the small to medium companies, because they're the ones that hire the most as well. Of course, you have the bigger companies that will sort of do a lot of graduate hires. And when the salary threshold changed as well, like in 2023, in 24, April 24, that first of all put a bit of a pause on their recruitment plans, because all of a sudden, where they were thinking actually we were going to hire this graduates on this threshold of salary, all of a sudden it's gone up, and they had to put a pause on it and reevaluate and try to think about that. But for the small to medium companies, it's a lot of planning, where they have to think about how do we meet this new salary sort of thresholds. So in July 22nd, on July 22nd this year, there was another sort of big shift, which is the one you're discussing about right now, where we're talking about where the government removed a lot of over 100 roles from roles that could be sponsored. Many of these roles were removed. It can no longer be sponsored. They're no longer deemed as skilled visas. They sort of determined that they were under the regulated qualification framework, RQF3, below that, and remove them. So just to give you a context about this, this skilled worker visa, whilst it looked like it's sort of changed or regressed, and the truth is, they've just taken it back to what it was before. It was only in 2022, thereabout, ending of 21-22, because they were reacting, the UK government, everything is about the UK government thinking about, is all some of these things are political, where they're thinking about we need to fill certain shortage that the UK is experiencing. Because don't forget, after Brexit, the United Kingdom and the world went into COVID sort of lockdown and things like that. So the United Kingdom, as well as like many other countries, started to only feel the impact of COVID end of 21, 22. And therefore, what the government did was to change the skilled worker thresholds. They lowered the band from RQF6. It was always meant to be graduate level roles. They lowered the band to RQF3, which is second GCSE secondary school sort of level, to enable the UK deal with the issues that Brexit has caused, which was now coming to light. And therefore, you then found many employers being able to recruit into, into a lot of industries that were never allowed before, when the skilled worker was tier 2, when it was called tier 2. So they allowed this for a couple of years, obviously about sort of 3 years now, and then they took it back to what it was. So all they did was removed the roles that were deemed to be below graduate level from the SOC codes, which is the standard occupational classification codes. They removed them. So and back to then what they call graduate level roles. That's what they've done. So because of that, of course, that's now made it more difficult for employers who have maybe set up businesses in the last, say, 2-3 years, who had been able to recruit people in those, lower roles, RQF3, and they're thinking, oh, now we've just, we're trying to recruit more. Suddenly we cannot recruit anymore into these roles. Unfortunately, what that means for most people who have migrated to the UK, whether to come and study, and we're thinking actually it'll make it easier to find it's made it more difficult to find employment now, because to anyone who is not currently in a skilled worker in a skilled worker visa in the UK, you don't currently have a skilled worker visa, and you're trying to go into it the first time. If you're not, a graduate in the UK that can benefit from lower salaries, the employer has to pay. I think the minimum now is about 41, almost £42,000 per annum. The question is, how many employers can pay £42,000 per annum for for a role to hire somebody in the United Kingdom? So that's why it's a bit difficult, because the government has removed all of this. However, for the construction industry, for many other industries, there's still some medium skilled roles that the government is still allowing. Again, that medium skilled role is under what we call temporary shortage occupation. So they've left some roles, even though they don't call them sort of highly skilled or sort of skilled. It's not RQF6, they're called medium skilled. They're not nearly as RQF3 as well. They've left those because they feel the UK still needs those sort of positions. So one of the, if you're thinking of being sponsored, actually, you could look at the temporary shortage occupations and look what roles could I potentially apply for there based on my skills, based on skills that you want to sort of learn from, because those employers can still sponsor at a reduced salary compared to the highly skilled ones that have all of the, most of the sort of reduced roles sort of stripped out. So that's, what's happened with the changes. And with the, sort of temporary shortage occupation as well, there are different roles there, mainly, even sort of directors in logistics roles are there. Engineering sort of technicians, IT support technicians are still there as well. Believe it or not, yeah, clothing, fashion, and accessories designers are still there. So quite a lot of roles are still there that individuals can look at and still qualify for.
Thank you, Peju. This has been insightful and very informative.
Thank you.
What guidance can you share for individuals and families looking to relocate to the UK for work?
Wow, that's an interesting one. I think with everybody, always starts from the individual and the family, and each family is sort of different. Some people have asked me before. I think one of the things you said, George, was also to say talk about my journey a little bit. It always starts with individual families, and I think everybody needs to be clear, firstly, why they want to relocate, not just sort of follow the bandwagon, because the truth is, migration is tough. As with everything, it is tough. And, it's just that right now, once you've passed the threshold and into the settlement and things like that, for those who sort of coming now, you look at maybe those that have relocated for a while and you're thinking, oh, I wish I could be where you are. It sort of takes time. And don't forget, I'm probably about 20 years in the United Kingdom, had a bit of tough time settling as well. But I think the key issue, one of the key things you should look out for, like I said, is getting the right information at the right time. Pay for advice, honestly, and the right advice so that you are guided on your journey. You can make informed decisions so that you're not reactive all of the time. I'll probably say so. And in terms of what are the pathways for me, I think one of the things you want to do as well is, once you understand the pathways and how you want to go about, is think about how you want to empower yourself. For example, with the highly skilled migrant, program, with which I relocated, as with hundreds of thousands of migrants who are from the same sort of demography still migrating today. When you look at the immigration statistics over the years, the countries that have had the highest sort of migration into the United Kingdom, especially skilled migration, is usually a few countries, Nigeria, India, and a few other countries. So those the journey is been the same, while the rules have changed a little bit, but it's really just understanding the rules with which you're coming as well. And with the early skilled migrant program, we had something where we were left to our own devices. Pretty much the visa just allowed us to come to the UK, and you had to find a job yourself or set yourself up in business and pay yourself a salary. There was no employer giving you any job or anything like that. You had to make that work, almost like what you have on graduate visa right now. The graduate visa was never that way when it was post-study visa, for example. Post-study visa, I think, at the time, post-study visa holders could work as well and things like that. So if anybody is on a graduate visa, that's the time to expand your horizon. Most people that have come to us, for example, in recent times on graduate visas, they usually wait until 5 months to their graduate visa ending, and they're coming to, I'm not finding any employer. But that visa allows you to set up yourself in business, to find work, or to actually create work for yourself. And there's nothing that stops you from registering that company as a sponsor and eventually being sponsored yourself. So you can find your solutions just the same way the highly skilled migrant program did about 20 years ago, up until when they stopped it, I think in 2014 thereabout, and then they've sort of removed it. So I'd probably say that, just back to your question and to summarize on that, for any individual or families who want to relocate as well, understand why you're doing it. The coaches will call that understand your goal, because there'll be times when you need to go back and say, why did I do this? And you just need to keep plodding on.
But sometimes it's really like the question always comes to, I don't know if how people think, but for me, sometimes you think about it and ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is migration worth it, at the end of the day?
At the end of the day, I mean, it depends. Like I said, it depends on why you've done it. People have asked me these questions, many, many times. And I would usually say, look, I can't answer that for you, George. I can't answer that for anybody, but answer that for myself. Is one of the best decisions I made. And if I had to do it again, I will do it again. And to be honest, I've got to the point now, I'm a British citizen. I've had British citizenship since 2010. My pathway to settlement was 4 years. When we got in as well, just George, as you were asking earlier on, we had a series of people advising us. I remember they were well-meaning, to be honest. They were just giving us information. But because we had the information, we had done our research, we knew the things that we were not going to apply and the things we were not going to listen to or follow. So we just followed the pathway. 4 years, we got our indefinite leave to remain, 5 years citizenship, and that's it. Now, if I want to go back to anywhere else in the world and live there, I can do that. But for some people, migration might not be worth it. Again, it all depends. So it's like a business case in project management. You've got to ask yourself at points in time, at milestones, is my business case still valid? Is my reason still valid? For me, I look at my reason why. And when I look at the reason why, I look at the business case. For those, I'm from Nigeria, and I look at some of the reasons that I left. Some of my business case is still valid. It's the reason why I'm still here. The moment that validity is no longer there for me, and I can go back to wherever it is I want to go.
So do you think do you guys support people to migrate to only the UK or different countries?
Mainly the United Kingdom. We do have partners in other countries like America, Australia. We do have partner organizations that we can we can sort of introduce any of our clients to, but we don't sort of focus on any countries outside of the United Kingdom. Again, it's just to ensure, just as you were saying, that people actually get the right advice. Of course, because we're advisors and things that we can easily interpret all of the rules and understand it. But sometimes we do know that country-specific support is very important. So therefore, if any of our sort of clients or anybody that we know wants to travel to Portugal or anywhere else, we have all of this leads that we can say, look, actually, it might be best for you to contact this organization that we've worked with before, or our clients have worked with before, and we can refer that individual to them.
Is there, so this isn't really, our conversation is not scripted, but also I would love to know, is there a ceiling for migrants? Do migrants really excel in the UK? Do they really get to, I know this is different from outside work, but
Yeah.
then again, do they really excel here? Do you see migrants reaching the peak of their career in the UK?
I believe so. I've seen quite a lot reach the peak of their careers, and I think much more than I've seen, in 2005, 2010, 15, with the introduction and growth of like social media, tech. There's a lot of information even being shared through the migrant sort of community. There's a lot of migrant community that has been able to come together to help others, which wasn't there back then in 2005, 6, or 10. That was simply because the tech was not there. To get that established was quite challenging at the time. But yes, in fact, there was a program I was thinking I was going to also, shadow for about 3 months or so, called, Diaspora Diaries. I just wanted to bring for the migrant community to see, this question about, the migrants who are actually succeeding. Believe it or not, as far back as even 2010, I've been seeing migrants that were earning £800 a day for what they were doing, some, £1,000 or more. So it's just thinking about, look, where do I need to go? Whilst you may not be there right now, the question is, how do you navigate to where you want to go and stick with it as well, while being open to the fact that sometimes, you might have to stick with certain careers to get the funds flowing while you are going to what you're going. But most importantly, you can't lose focus once you know that this is where you're going. But yes, there are a lot of migrants that are successful. Just being as humble as possible. I'll probably call myself one of them. I've developed a lot of UK immigration companies. A lot of UK immigration companies still call me to come and consult for their clients or consult for their practices to help them build. I build a lot of that. I do a lot of that as well. I've done that for international companies. I've done that for Capita in the United Kingdom. So, but that wasn't always the case. The first few years, I was trying to establish myself in that career. And I remember I made certain decisions that sometimes a few of my friends, I think at the time, said, Peju, are you all right? Because there was a time that I actually left a role that was paying me, I think at the time, £25,000 to go for a £14,000 role because I needed time to progress where I wanted to progress. So now that I'm where I wanted to progress, that difficult time is a thing of the past. But it was a decision I had to make because I was going towards my goal. So don't forget, I keep saying this, that people must know why, they've relocated. They must know what it is they want to do and continue to focus on that. They must have it laser focused. It's their business case. I think one of the reasons why migrants sometimes struggle to eventually settle and succeed is because they're being tossed to and fro with a lot of information. And now, because of information being everywhere, sometimes some will come for an advice. We've seen this before, and that sort of cracks me up a little bit. Where they come for an advice, you advise them, and then they'll go and listen to 10 other people who are not even advisors. And then they'll come back and say, well, Peju, George said this. Are you sure what you told me is right? And I'm saying, you know what, it's your decision. Take whichever you please. So those are the reasons that can impede on the successes of migrants. But yes, there are a lot of migrants succeeding. Do not be deceived by the stories that migrants don't succeed where they go. As you know, we're grafters, but yes, the opportunities to succeed and make your journey what you want it to be. It's really down to you.
All right, guys. Thank you, Peju. We're still here. I hope you all are having a great time. Please put your questions together. We'll open the floor soon for you to ask your questions. I've also put in the chat box. I've put details of how to contact Peju on social media, emails, and other social media handles for Michelle Belle. Please follow them. Please contact them. Please send them questions. We're still on, and we'll have other topics to talk about the global talent routes. You giving us more information about the global talent and what people need to know about it, how people can qualify and benefit from it. We're still going to speak about sponsorship licenses, speak about how companies can have better immigration strategies to hire international talents. We still have all this in place. Yeah, so put your questions together. And I hope you all are having a great time hearing from the consultant. She has all the experience. She's advised a lot of people, and I'm pretty much very confident about what she does and her expertise. So we're going to move on, Peju.
Yeah,
Pretty
sure.
much, I would love you to also speak about global talent, speak about alternative work route. I know you spoke about a bit about it, but also break it down. How do people qualify for the global talent visa? What they need to know, how long it takes, what's the pathway to global to the ILR as against other skilled worker routes that also are in place, and also this talk about the 10 years settlement ILR. Is that already in place, or what's the real story about it? I think a lot of audience will also love to know about that. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, George, for that. So I think, we did mention about other immigration categories. Let me quickly start with the 10-year ILR, sort of thing in terms of, is it already in place? So there's actually a route called 10-year settlement anyway. Naturally, it's called the long residence. And that is for those who perhaps have stayed in the UK legally in different immigration categories. Once they amass 10 years for that, they can apply for settlement based on long residence. But of course, I think the one you're talking about is where the government is thinking of extending the settlement pathway, where it used to be 5 years to 10 years for individuals. And of course, there's been debate around, should this impact on those already on the settlement pathway already. So with law, the way the sort of law works is normally that the law that you've come in with is the law that you should expect to live with. And that's why you would see that with every change that the government has made over time, they would usually make transitional arrangements for those who have come in. So the same way with, for example, the July 22nd changes as well, where the new salary thresholds have come in, about 41.7 or about 42. Those who are already on the skilled worker pathway are not subject to those higher thresholds, while they're sort of slightly higher thresholds, but they have transitional arrangements. So employers are still able to hire those who are already on the skilled worker pathway, for example, at a sort of lower sort of salary range than what the government has instituted for a new hire coming into there who's not already there. The same thing with, for example, healthcare workers who cannot, we know that healthcare workers can no longer be hired from outside of the UK. And previously, they had not been able to bring their dependents. But those who came in before those rules were instituted, before it was made compulsory that they couldn't bring in dependents, but those who came in as healthcare workers can still, change jobs, for example, and they could still bring in their dependents that they had not brought in before. So applying those rules of fairness, UK has one of the most fair immigration rules, I must say, about it, in the entire world. I must say this. They're the ones who would sort of, okay, so applying those rules of fairness, whilst they haven't sort of put it into law or anything, it is not something we expect that those already on the settlement pathway. And what I mean is, if you're already on a visa category that leads to settlement, you should expect that our expectation is you would have you'd fall into the transitional arrangement where you will still be able to settle on your 5-year pathway. However, for anybody coming in newly, so if, let's say you're on a graduate visa, for example, and then you get, let's assume the implementation of the rules come in, and then you start your pathway on the skilled worker visa or another visa that leads to settlement. When the rules are being, effected, then you would have to go on the 10-year pathway. But I know that it's definitely something that they're going to implement, because there's still debates about this and things like that. So I'll probably just say that. So if anyone has been in the UK or maybe sort of student visas or all other different visas, and you're already on your pathway to 10 years, sometimes moving into a work visa where you have 5 years to settle, you might get to your 10-year legal status before even the 5-year settlement route on the work-based visa. So that might be something to look at as well. I don't know if I answered your question there, George, but for everyone, and even for the highly skilled migrant category, I remember we had this a long time as well, where in 2011, the government changed the rules for highly skilled migrants. Actually, no, I do apologize, it was 2009. They changed the rules where they were saying that highly skilled migrant program migrants now had to settle in 5 years instead of 4. So when I came in 2005, our pathway to settlement was supposed to be 4 years. But in 2009, they changed it to 5 years, and they retrospectively wanted to, they wanted to retrospectively apply that to those who had come in before the change. The Highly Skilled Migrant Forum went to court. You guys can go and Google. They said Highly Skilled Migrant Forum, ILR Forum. They went to court and we won in court. And so the government made a change to ensure there was transitional arrangements to those who had been before. And that continued with every change they make. So yes, they will always make changes, but the change that usually is the rule that you came into that pathway with is what you should expect that you would use to come out. And that's why you must ensure that you get to settlement as quickly as possible, because even though they make transitional arrangements, those transitional arrangements as well will be it would cover the 5 years from the date they made that announcement, because they would expect that whoever came into that pathway in that year would take about 5 years. So it would normally not be more than 5 years, any of these transitional arrangements, just so that you know, and things like that. So did we have a question on that, or I think I can go ahead to talk about sponsorships generally?
We don't really have a question, and just please go ahead.
Okay.
We have a question here, but we'll
Okay.
attend to questions when it's time for questions.
Okay.
So we'll just go ahead and speak on it, and
okay. Yeah. So let's speak about sponsorships, I think, for employers, especially, even in construction related roles, but again, not only construction roles, sponsorship from the employer perspective, and also and from the applicant perspective as well. So it's skilled workers, we did say, is one of the most available routes for people to work in the UK and to eventually get to settlement. Employers would need to apply to the Home Office for a sponsorship license. And I've seen a lot, I think, on social media, just trying to dispel myths, especially on LinkedIn. I've seen a lot of sometimes from the sort of from the graduates or from the migrant population, saying things like employers don't want to sponsor them, employers are prejudiced against them, they don't want to employ them because they think they need sponsorship and things like that. And that's mainly because the employers are finding it increasingly difficult. The thresholds and the demands, I think, from the Home Office on the employers is quite high. So, for example, think about a graduate role, someone who has graduated from school at the moment, from a university, wanting to a role with an employer who is a sponsor. I think the minimum salary to sponsor a graduate right now is about 31,700 or so, about that. Actually, I think it's about 33 now. It's gone up from 39.60 to 33. So it's about 33,400. Yeah, 33,400. That's since the July 22nd changes, it's about 33,400. Whereas their peers or any other company who wasn't sponsoring a migrant could hire a graduate at, let's say, 25, 26 or slightly lower. So that's the dilemma that employers are facing, where if you think about it, if you're hiring for 3 roles, let's say at 25 or so, that's about 75. But for a sponsor, that's 2 roles that you can about get because of the demands that the Home Office has placed on the employers. So so it's not like still the employers do not want to sponsor. It's really the fact that they're also sort of challenged as well. And to get a sponsor license, the Home Office has also increased the bar. There's a lot of evidence that the organizations have to show now significantly more than before, especially with the introduction of the genuine vacancy requirements, where the business has to show, firstly, is this role even in available in your company? The Home Office is going to ask, but why do you need this role? These are the questions they ask them. Apart from that, how can you fund this role? Demonstrate to us that you've got the contracts or you've got the clients to fund all of this. And it's really to safeguard the skilled workers, because obviously it's been all over in the media as well. There's been a lot of workers that people sort of sponsored and then there was no jobs for them. And to safeguard them, the Home Office have increased the threshold for the employers as well. So how can employers ensure that they can hire? Firstly, they need to look at the subcodes. We've talked about the subcodes as well. So apart from specific industry related jobs, there are also operational jobs that can be sponsored as well. But most of the operational jobs at the medium occupations can still be sponsored: business support, accounting, social media. So if you're thinking about, look, I want to put myself in a position where I can more readily sort of find jobs, I think you want to look at roles that all businesses would need, at the moment. While, AI is taking over most of these roles, I think this was one of the things that George was showing in the videos earlier on. For those that came earlier, we're sort of showing that construction is not one that AI can completely take over 100%. It cannot. So, and we're not there yet. But social media that, of course, AI powered is just to make your work a bit better, but human beings are still needed. We still need human resources to do that. So if you look at the medium skilled roles and also the highly skilled roles, and just think, how do I ensure that I bring my A game? How can I contribute? How can I how can I communicate my value to the employer? And I think that's what skilled workers should be doing. You can't apply the same way that every other person who does not need sponsorship is applying. And I think that's a mistake that most skilled workers do. All of you are applying to the same funnel that every other person in the UK who's looking for work to apply. And the employer is thinking, actually, if I can hire this individual who does not need a visa, who I'm not going to be forced to pay £43,000 for this role, or who am I going to be forced as a graduate to pay £34,000 for? And I'm not going to have to answer to them as to why I need this role. And if 10 of them apply and you apply as well, they're probably going to look at those people a bit more favorably, because for them, it's just less. They feel like it's easier to do. For them, it's easier on their sort of business finances. So I think, as skilled worker visas, you require something to meet your immigration goal. We've talked about immigration goal from the beginning. You have to apply from a value point. I think that's really important. Look at those roles from a value proposition and make sure that you're sort of applying sort of slightly differently. Don't just sort of throw your CVs into this pipeline, because really most of them just go nowhere. I think you've got to be a bit more research and speak to the pain points of the companies hiring. I feel like if you target a lot of more of the small to medium companies and come with value propositions, you are more likely to be successful. But whilst you're doing that, I did mention, I touched briefly on self-sponsorship. Whilst you're doing that, there's nothing really stopping you from also, like I said, you've got the ability, if you are on a visa that allows you to set up a business and work for yourself, you've got the ability to do that and be preparing to potentially self-sponsor if at the end of the day, no matter what you've tried, you're not getting those jobs. But yes, for the employers, we can assist with employers who want to apply for their sponsor license. We've done that for so many employers. We can still do that as well. We ensure that you understand your responsibilities for holding a sponsor license, which includes your migrant reporting and recording. So I did say that migrant reporting, the Home Office mandates that the employers will report on their migrant. For example, if the migrant doesn't turn up to work without excuse for a couple of days, the employers are mandated to report that to the Home Office to demonstrate that they have a system that can be trusted to maintain immigration control. So the employers have a lot of responsibility, but we can sort of assist them to understand the breadth of the UK immigration, requirements for them. And they have to, one of the things we do with companies as well is actually to help them understand. So if you're a business owner here, I think one of the things that you must know as well is the sponsorship pathway as well is actually a business enhancer, and it helps your business with your business continuity, your business planning, because with your staff that you're going to sponsor for, let's say, 3 to 5 years, you can at least know that for the next 3 to 5 years, you're not going to potentially need to recruit into that role anymore. So you're going to be saving on recruitment costs, retraining costs, and things like that when you look at the migrant workforce. And also the things that we discussed with the employers, actually, to help them understand the value of holding a sponsorship license. So that way, once you understand the value, then you can quickly think about, actually, yes, this is why we need this workforce as well. So I think for the skilled workers here as well, or for anybody thinking about going into a skilled worker, you've got to be able to give that value proposition as well. We've seen situations where someone was working, not just on one person, but but quite a few we've seen where they were working with a company, and just because when they wanted to leave, the company initially wasn't going to sponsor them, but when they were going to leave, the company's client, realizing that the individuals were going to leave, mandated that, if they're not going to retain these individuals, they would have to take their business elsewhere. That was because of the value that they were bringing to that company. And the company, realizing that this client is actually a huge client of ours, went through the sponsorship regime just to retain this candidate. So again, the value that you bring in must be really tangible. It has to hit the bottom line. If your value is not hitting the bottom line, then very easily the companies would not see why they should go through all of the, this process or this hassle to hire you. But we've seen quite a few that companies have actually gone to register for a sponsor license just to hire the individuals. So again, we discuss with companies from that perspective to demonstrate that holding a skilled worker, holding a sponsorship is actually a company or a business growth plan for them. We educate them as well, and to create more opportunities for migrants that they might want to hire. So sponsorship license, of course, as you know, once you're given a visa, it's usually anything between 1 year to 5 years. That depends on the company and how many years sponsorship they want to give to the individual they're hiring, but they can give up to 5 years at a time, and and things like that. So I'm not sure if there's anything else, particularly if there are any questions around sponsorships, please put it in the question and answers so that I can make sure that I do address all of your questions. Now, are there any specific industries that cannot apply for a sponsor license? Absolutely not. Any business can apply for a sponsor license, literally. I heard someone the other day talking about registering their cleaning business. Yes, you can, register a cleaning business if you have one. The only thing is, because of the rule changes of July 22nd, the role that you must hold in that business, if you're trying to self-sponsor, has to be a graduate level role, or at least the medium occupations. They've removed most of the other roles. Someone asked me the other day, can I register my hairdressing business? Sure, you can, because the hairdressing business, it's still a business as well. You require specialists, you require operations people sometimes to assist you. Franchise is another thing as well. You get a franchise. Can I register a franchise as a sponsor? Yes, you can. So there is no limitation to the business that can become a sponsor. The most important thing is being able to demonstrate why it needs a sponsorship license, number one. And number two, the roles that you want to hire into, are they roles that can actually be sponsored? So again, that's for the business owners. For individuals that are going to be sponsored, I think is really to look at the roles that you can be hired into right now. What are those roles? And then position yourself to make sure that you can actually be hired into those roles. Construction related roles are still very much both in the in the SOC codes. For those just coming in newly, there's still construction related roles. It's called, table 1. When you look at the SOC codes, which are the, graduate level roles, they're still there, sort of a higher level sort of salary demands there. For example, construction project managers is about £22.72 per hour. And the minimum to hire anybody is about £43,000 in that, from the higher level roles. However, I think for those in the shortage occupation, it's about 39,300 or so. To hire mostly in construction related roles. There are other ones that are still 33,400 or so. So it depends on the role that you want, and organizations that can sponsor you as well.
Thank you, Peju. I think you've actually spent time to dissect and inform us about what it takes and all we need to know about migrating or having legal status in the UK. We're extremely grateful for being here, for also taking time to go into these topics. Just no time is enough. We've no time is enough. We'll be here all day speaking about it because it's actually a concern for everyone. But I would open the floor for 20 minutes. People can actually share their questions. Do you want to round up on anything before we open the floor? Do you want to speak about anything before we open the floor?
Yeah, sure. I'll just sort of round up a little bit before we open it up for questions and answer questions, to say that I do realize, and just sort of don't take it for granted that and I did mention as well that migration can be challenging. everything has its sort of difficult side, but it can be quite rewarding as well, just getting the right information at the right time. I would say that for your settlement pathway and plan, to be honest, there's nothing, that it doesn't, to get the right advice, pay for consultation, go and get the right advice, and at least know the what applies to you and how you can get to where you want to go. But we did also share that there are a lot of successful sort of migrants in the UK, and both across different fields. And your journey can be the same. It's just that you have to focus on your journey. You can listen to a lot of things, but remember, I think George did say this, that it's almost like your doctor, almost your experts. Make sure that you have your experts, or at least listen to the experts and know the pathway you're going. So on that note, I'll try to take a question. I think there's a question in that I can see here. Someone said, for a skilled worker under sponsorship for a care role, how can he migrate to construction profession on the side, even before getting ILR? So, if you've come into the UK currently and you're on a care role, you can change to any skilled worker role from your care role. You don't have to continue to stay in care. In fact, one of the things I've said to people as well is those are coming. So initially there was, I'll give you an idea. There was a client of ours that actually came in to United Kingdom as a carer. However, she was caring privately, I think, while she was in her home country, but her main career was actually in human resources. And so we just had private care, and because she wanted to migrate with her family, she came as a carer. But within 4 months, because she applied herself to the organization and supporting, within 4 months, they saw her skills and moved her into care coordination. And afterwards, they transferred a visa from care into, care operations sort of visa, operations sort of roles. So the fact that you started in care does not mean you cannot go into a construction-related role or an AI-related role or a business support role or an accounting role, whatever it is, as long as you're able to demonstrate your competence to the employer and the employer gives you that role, then they can definitely switch you into that role. All that would take is they would have to give you a new certificate of sponsorship. You would have to make a new visa application because you are leaving one code now to another code. So you have to make a new visa application and then continue on that pathway. But there's nothing that says that because you started in construction, you cannot move into IT, or you started in IT, you cannot move into care. So if your job in construction is threatened, and you find or the employer says, look, I can't sponsor you anymore, and the person that gives you and the business that gives you a job is in care, by all means, move into care, because your settlement is what you're trying to safeguard. Remember, I mentioned that you need to get to your settlement as quickly as possible. The only thing that would require is a new application and a new certificate of sponsorship, because you are crossing from one sub-code to another one. Then,
sorry.
yeah.
So if it's going to have the role as a part-time role, it's because from what I know about it, I hear you have to also make sure that your part-time role is basically 20 hours and it should be on the shortage list. So with the new revised shortage list, does it apply to people who were on the old shortage? If you applied before the new changes, what shortage role do you work with now? The shortage role has been updated.
I see. Okay, yeah, absolutely. So the rule before is what you've just quoted, where for anyone on a skilled worker visa, their 20 hours has to be in a shortage occupation. Now it is no longer the case. Your 20 hours can be in pretty much any other job that can be sponsored, any other job that is on the codes under sponsorship, either on the temporary shortage list or on the main codes, as long as it is a role that can be sponsored. So don't restrict yourself only to shortage lists. However, I imagine that the shortage lists are the ones that you will probably very easily be able to find roles under. So, but it has to be a role that can be sponsored, basically. But you can do the 20 hours in any job at all. That that can be sponsored. I think that's a key issue that you have to look at, not only the temporary shortage occupation that you can look at. You can look at the main codes as well and be able to do that. And also, was there any other? I think there was something else that you were saying, George, in terms of that. Also, I think I should say this as well. If the job is going to be more than 20 hours, the employer has to give you a certificate of sponsorship. Now, that is going to be called an additional job for you, not just supplementary. It's going to be an additional job, and then you would need a new certificate of sponsorship from the company giving you another job that is more than 20 hours. So you will have to update your visa then with the Home Office. I think that's where the complexity comes in a little bit, and that's why individuals just think, you know what, just let me do my 20 hours additional, where I do not need to go to the Home Office to update my sponsorship details and say I'm sponsored by 2 companies. Let me just focus on one and then do my 20 hours additional, either in those roles, or any other role that can be sponsored at the moment. Sorry, you're muted, George.
In that kind of complex situation, which visa duration do you work with? Because maybe you had a visa for care before, and later on, a year later, you got maybe a combined visa for something else, which is basically maybe a 3-year visa. How do you combine it? Which one would actually expire before the other? So do you work with the new one, or basically they put them together?
The Home Office would generally put them together, but you would always work with the first time you came into that role, that visa that goes to settlement. So the first skilled worker visa is the one that you would work with, because that was when you came into the category. So the category is what you should focus on. When you came into that category that leads to settlement is when your count to settlement begins, to indefinite leave to remain begins, regardless of what you do in the middle. As long as you maintain continuous leave in that category, your leave was never broken. I think that's key issue to discuss as well. Your leave was never broken at any point in time. Then you count from the first time you got into that category leading to settlement.
This is actually an eye-opener, because I never knew that an individual could have 2 sponsorships. It's an eye-opener, actually. And also, it's actually a game changer for a lot of people who have felt stuck, who have been through a lot of different situations and actually been twisted to feel that they can't work anywhere else. So this is an eye-opener, and I hope a lot of people can benefit from this, and also see how they can actually look for another career in line with basically what they want to do, and also get proper hours from it as well. Thank you, Peju. Any questions? I would love people to actually ask questions. I want this to be as interactive as possible. You raise your hands, and you could speak to Peju right now and share. If not, we also have her details in the chat. You can actually take on her details and speak.
Okay, I just have a question. I don't know if it's topic. I just wanted to ask, like with an asylum seeker that has an application in progress, how successful are they to rotate from a skilled visa application?
Yeah, so that's a tough one, because I can't really comment on that, because I say it's sort of almost individual background in there, and without knowing the sort of background information, that's a bit tricky. However, just generically, if someone if the applicant already had leave in the United Kingdom, and they made an application for asylum because the leave was expiring, or maybe because they didn't have any other sort of employer or jobs, and they made an asylum application before that leave expired, while waiting for the asylum decision, if they found an employer that wanted to employ them, we can alter that application. So we just withdraw your asylum application and then make a skilled worker visa application, and that would be fine. So, but if the individual did not have leave in the United Kingdom, they applied for asylum, because normally if you don't have leave in the United Kingdom, ideally there's just limited applications you can make. Without leave in the United Kingdom, you cannot normally apply for skilled worker visas, just so that you're aware. However, the individual circumstances matter anyway, but generically you can't apply for skilled worker visa if you don't have leave in the United Kingdom. So generally people would apply for asylum, or maybe for their leave to remain, based on maybe complex circumstances, and we look at each individual background background for that. If that individual you're describing now, Elizabeth, started from a no-leave situation into an asylum application, even if they found a job now, they would not be considered as a standard application to transfer to a skilled worker visa. That would not be something that we'll be able to make because they didn't have leave in the United Kingdom. So if they had an employer that wanted to employ them, we would look at their background and think, is there any benefits to going to apply for that skilled worker visa from outside of the UK? If there's a risk to that individual going outside of the UK, maybe they've overstayed their visas for just a long time, to which normally they will be excluded from coming to the UK for about 12 months or so, we might advise against that. So we look at individual circumstance and be able to give them a right advice. But I hope I've been able to just cover a bit of the generic circumstance around that question. So, okay, I think there are other questions.
Yeah, so I think there's Manish. Manish, go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Manish.
Good afternoon.
My name is Manish Hamal, and I've been reading in the studying in the University College Birmingham. My master's degree program is it's in construction project management, and I'm about to graduate. And I've been looking for to join in the construction industry, and I've been searching for the jobs. And I'm doing the certificates also. I have the CSCS card and doing the SMSTS program. But it is very difficult for me to find and looking for the jobs. And I'm going to the PSW, post study work visa. So I want some suggestions from you about the job, how to apply, and what areas should I look about, what areas should I look into.
Peju, I'll just go ahead and answer this because it's a bit more like more of what we do. So hi Manish, good afternoon. So what you could do is send us a message. I'll send you a criteria, and once you fill in the criteria and all the provide us that information, we would actually connect you with an organization that helps people get jobs. So that's the way to go about it. And once you get job, because you need that experience, the thing about the construction industry is you always need to have that experience in construction. So first of all, you need the job. And I feel once you get in, it's easier for you to show competence and also look for opportunities within an organization for work visa employment. I think that's the way to go about it, because you have the qualifications already. All you need right now is for a job. We can't guarantee that you're going to get a sponsorship because that's not why we're here. But you can also speak to the consultant afterwards if she has any advice for you. Or if you also want Migratrada to connect you for employment, which doesn't include sponsorship, we can connect you. We can do that for you, but we won't be able to guarantee you sponsorship. But you can also speak to the consultant if there are any ways around your issue, and she can actually advise in that regard.
Thank you so much, George.
Okay, hi. Okay, we'll speak to Izine. Izine, please go ahead and ask your questions.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
I just have a clarification, or if you have any advice for me. So I applied for a student visa, and it's over 3 weeks. I don't know if you have an idea on why it might be delayed or something, or can I follow up with UKVI? How do
Absolutely.
I proceed?
Yeah, I'm not sure why it might be delayed. Sometimes processing times in UKVI is a thing. And I don't know whether, and also one of the things that causes some slight delays are where they are making verification checks or different things like that. But you can also follow up with them, definitely. Just use the contact UKVI and you can call them. But I usually would prefer for you to go through the emails because you'd pay £2.74, somewhere about that, and you can have a series of emails bouncing back and forth, and you can escalate through the Contact UKVI team. And if there was any verifications they were making delaying your application, then they should be able to at least give you some sort of steer at that point in time.
Okay.
So
thank you.
you're welcome. We have Vic. We're going to take these questions real quick, and because we've gone beyond our time. So hi Vic, do you mind going ahead and to ask your question?
Hello,
Hello.
can you hear me? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, I really appreciate this the program. Uh Currently, okay, we came into this country to, yeah, when I say we, I mean me and my wife came into this country through student visa, and she's the student and I am the dependent. And currently, I work in construction industry. Working in the construction industry, I actually see opportunities. But my challenge now is from student visa to crossing into, skilled worker visa. So there is absolutely, it's like you're just moving without a clear direction. So I don't know whether you people mentor people so that maybe one can get guidance from you so that one will be on track and focus, instead of just moving from place to place. Yes, in construction industry, well, we came into the country with no, so we don't even know which direction. Somehow, I dabbled into construction. Say if you have CATS card, you can start working. Okay, my wife currently she's working in a care home. Okay, as a carer, she does this domiciliary. So the one that they move from place to place to taking care of clients. That's what she's doing, even though she's still a student. For me, the man, I'm in construction. I've been able to get some tickets. Sorry for the noise at the background. I'm actually at work, so I have to move to a more quiet place. Can you still hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. What's your name, please?
Oh, yeah, my name is Victory Amina.
Okay, Victory. So Victory, I think your question you're
Yes.
asking is, how can I think George sort of answered this a little bit earlier on in terms of how can you potentially find sponsorship. Your wife is still on a student
Exactly.
visa. You're trying. So firstly, I think as a backup plan, we know that your family on your settlement plan, your family can still normally go to graduate visa after the student visa sort of expires, assuming you are.
Masters. No, the student visa is master in research, masters in research.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So after the student visa concludes, after she concludes her studies, she can normally still have the graduate route. I think you guys can have that as a family, as a backup plan. But of course, if you're looking at,
Sorry, when
starting
you say
now,
when you say graduate, you mean for studies?
post-study, yes. So the
Okay.
post-study is there to know that your pathway or your plan to settlement is not ending the moment the student visa ends. But I think it's good that you're thinking about actually how do we get into sponsorship right now? And you're talking about, you're being in construction. So that's sort of your question I think George answered before. If you're looking for you've got a job already in construction, so that's great.
No.
And you're thinking, look,
Sorry. Hello. So my job is through agency. It's not employment. I'm more like through agency. So the employment is not guaranteed. So
okay,
I'm just
so
moving
you
from
can
side to
speak
side
with.
through agency. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can speak with George, I think, and the Migratrada team to assist with, jobs in construction, which does not, they're not sort of guaranteeing sponsorship. I think he mentioned that earlier, but I think in terms of thinking about how do you, try to get sponsored from there, we've spoken about your value proposition. I said this as well, your value proposition don't apply just the same way everybody. And George mentioned this value proposition, even when they've potentially assisted you with a job through Migratrada as well. And I think those are the ways that you can try to position yourself. The other way as well is currently, this is a thing that just came to my mind, George, and I'm going to just quickly speak about this as well. But I would encourage you, Victory, as opposed to coming to the conversation we can discuss. But you've mentioned something that you're working through an agency at the moment. Your role is being discharged, I think, through a company of sort. And there's nothing that actually stops you as well from doing the same through your own company. I've talked about self-sponsorship, and I think a lot of people need to think about this. Many of you are doing work in that field, and I did explain that this is what happened with the predecessors of the skilled worker visas that we have, which is the highly skilled migrant program. We're not giving jobs. You just had the capacity to be here, just the same way you have right now, Victory. You're on a dependent visa. You have the capacity to be in the UK, to work and to set yourself up in business. You're already working on some projects. Nothing stops you from thinking about that from your business, setting up your business and working through that for this construction. And if you're able to get a sponsorship, that's great. But if not, you should think about setting up your company as a sponsor and working through that company. So self-sponsorship. I think you should be thinking about that. That should be your, next plan B immediately after your graduate visa. So I hope that helps. Let's go to other people. I think we have 3 more people. So it'd be great to.
Sorry for cutting you. When you say self-sponsored, does it mean like you are self-employed in the industry?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You're sponsoring yourself through your own
Okay,
business. Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
I think I've started that because I have my ETR, and most of the job I do is through the CIS. So
We'll have to. So if you want us to speak specifically about yourself, you'd have to come into a consultation for that, so that we can look at all of your backgrounds and all of the information on how we can support the self-sponsorship. But I think if you want a full-time job, Migratrada George is there as well. You can contact them; they can help you.
So how do I contact? How do I contact? How do I make contact?
Is there a number that they can actually call? Because we've put your
my
website.
My number is registered. My number is registered on my.
No. So I will. I'm asking if there's a contact number for Michelle Belle, because it's not in the. So if you can send that to me, I can put that on the chat room so people who are interested can contact you. I've also put our contact for Migratrada on here as well. So if you want to contact us, you can contact us. And if you need a job, if you need job support, training support, bootcamp support, on-site experience support, all that we can help you with that, But if you need immigration support, consultancy, guidance, please contact Michelle Belle. I've put their number and their email above. I would also put their number for Michelle Belle in the chat box as well, so people can actually reach out to them. So can we take one more question before we go? I think we have a lot of hands up, and I would do. Can you see the hands raised? Can you see it?
Yes, I can see we have quite a few. There's Tosin who actually put a question in the chat box and also has a hand up. So Tosin, can we take you so that we can answer your question?
Okay.
Yeah, good afternoon. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go on, please.
Yes, please go on, Tosin. Hello, Tosin, can you hear us? Please proceed with your question. Well, if it's the same one, Tosin, that you have in the question and answer, she did say that basically she's on a graduate visa as well. She's done some courses in MVQ course in plumbing, and she's completing that. How can she get sponsorship with the certifications she's got in project management, and also because her visa is running out. So again, I think that sort of follows almost the same thing that we discussed with Victor as well. Firstly, if you need a job, Migratrada is your a path to go. And to discuss sponsorship plans, how do you navigate this, then you can contact us. We can speak about your specific circumstances. But again, I've hinted a lot about self-sponsorship. I think that's things that we need to look at. Okay, just one more question. Jennifer?
No, I think there's a bias. You're taking all the ladies.
Oh, really?
You're taking all the ladies.
All the names are the ladies, I can see.
Okay, okay, Jennifer, then I'm going to pick Mike to go next.
Oh, really? I didn't even say Mike. I do apologize. Okay, Jennifer, can you go next?
Hello, thank you. I've actually been raising my hand up for the past 30 minutes.
Oh, I do.
Thank you for calling me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I'm very happy for this platform, and so far I've gained so much. It's been very insightful. I actually came in last year with my MSc, my study visa, and currently I have registered a business, and the business is cosmetic production. So for like men, beard care, hair care, women, shampoo, conditioner, and all that. So I was just wondering if you could shed some light on, because I think you earlier mentioned being able to sponsor yourself as a business owner,
Mhm.
and I'm actually worried about the taxes, being able to gather all the expenses that has been made to submit to the home office to show that okay, these ones are expenses, these ones are like, what happens if let's say I am not able to meet up properly with all of that, because I think you have to get an accountant. Or if it's a new business, are you not required to file anything if you're not earning a certain amount?
Mhm.
And what are the things we should look out for? I don't want to use the word disadvantages of owning a business, because in the UK things can be tricky. If you own a business, you have to watch your back and make sure you're meeting up with certain things, you're filing your taxes, you're doing this and that. I think recently Home Office just emailed everyone about something they need to register. I've forgotten what it's called. I need to go to my email and look at it. And it things like that. Like what is involved? Like what do we have to pay attention to in order not
Thank you.
to?
Yeah.
Yes,
Was-
thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. I think that would I probably covered that a little bit when I was speaking about how businesses can actually register to become a sponsor, and it's the same process that your business would have to go through, regardless of whether it's self-sponsor. So self-sponsorship is just a name. It's not even a visa category, but it's just a name where, rather than looking for a job and the job is not coming, as most of you are sort of alluding to at the moment. And I did mention about the fact that your current visas, perhaps graduate visa or any other visa, can allow you to set up a business. So you've set up a business, and congratulations on that. I've said that there is no any business can
Thank
register for
you.
a sponsor license. Any business can register. The most important thing that you have to look out for, you've mentioned the key issues that employers are facing. And I think you would be a little bit more sympathetic, I think, with potential employers than maybe those who have not run a business before. But these are the issues that employers face as well. And to register as a sponsor for a sponsor successfully, you're right. You don't need to have filed your first year accounts. If you have done that, that's all the better, because that would help the Home Office to assess that your business actually has the funds to be able to pay the salary. The key issue is the funds to be able to pay the salary, to be able to pay the role for the salary for the role of the person you are hiring. They want to make sure that this individual does not end up coming into the UK and do not have a job, because at the end of the day, if you sponsor someone and they don't have a job 5 months later, they become a problem for the UK state, and they have to, the UK has to, with benefits, be supporting them, and that's not what they want. So they want to ensure that the business is viable. So whether there's to apply for a sponsor license, there's a category called startup. So the Home Office allows startup businesses to also register. What that means is, as long as you can demonstrate that you have genuine vacancy and that you have evidence of the source of income into that business that will pay that salary, for example. However, the key thing is, you're looking at self-sponsorship. Your startup funds that you're going to demonstrate to say it can pay for the salary cannot be your own injected funds, because it would look, even though you can bootstrap normally in a business, but when it comes to sponsorship, bootstrapping is a thing. The Home Office interprets it to be as though you are just round tripping your money and you don't have a genuine business. So when we advise and assist businesses on that, we make sure that all of those tricky spots are dealt with, and we can actually show the true value of your business, that it can hire you, and it actually is trading sort of successfully. So yes, you can continue to do that, register your company, but make sure that you get proper advice before you go for a sponsor license application. Because if that is refused, you get between 6 to 12 months cooling off period before you can reapply. So to be honest, that can really be a business planning buster. So we want to make sure that we don't get refusals, so that it doesn't really harm your plans towards settlement. I hope that helps. So over to you, George, to select the next person.
Yeah, but
Thank you,
Peju, please, could you do
Peju.
us a favor and put your the number of Michelle Belle in the chat box?
I have done that actually, and I've also said in the chat box, I put the number as well. I put our email address, and I've also encouraged participants to say that, for everyone who's attended the Migratrada sort of session today, we're going to give them an automatic 10 to 15% discount when they come to us to discuss their case.
Lovely. Thank you.
They just need to
Thank
quote,
you.
Migratrada 10, and we will give them that discount and be able to speak to them. And it's a 1 hour that'll be dedicated to you guys just to deal with your specific question and give you solutions that will be able to move you forward.
Okay, I've also put that as well. It is 0208-124-1215. So I'm going to pick Mike to speak, and we would actually do we're rounding up afterwards. Hi,
Okay.
Mike. Hi, Mike.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for the platform, and I want to also thank everyone that is here. I'm Mike, and I'm coming from Abuja. I really want to know, because I'm trying to go into construction. I studied international relations and diplomacy in school. I formerly did a healthcare course, trying to get sponsorship into the UK to work under the healthcare platform, but it didn't work out because of the whole change of rules and regulations. But now I'm trying to go in through construction. And to be frank, I know nothing about construction, so I'm trying to build myself a new career path into construction and to be able to move into the UK. So I really want to know, what are the processes I need to take? Do I need to still go back to school and do a different course, or do I do professional courses, or I have to find somewhere to probably get a job and then learn through experience? So that's why I'm here. I really want to find out what are the processes needed.
Hi, Mike. So speaking about construction, we have a training which is the Starting a Career in Construction training in the UK. And we offer this training once a month for people, for new entrants, people trying to move careers into construction. But then again, because of time, we have our number in the chat box. Please send us a message and we will guide you on how to navigate. We would also need to evaluate your present qualification. You can also convert your present qualifications to the UK and also use this to get UK standard qualifications that match what you already have in Nigeria. So we need to evaluate that as well. And there are different ways and different things we could talk about and how we can actually help you start a career in construction. Your main focus is basically the career in construction with the aim of getting sponsorship, which is a bit more. First of all, you need to convert first your qualification to the UK qualification. Then, secondly, you need to also look for a job that can offer you sponsorship in the UK. So that is a totally two different things that you need to do. So would advise you on starting a career in construction. But when it comes to the side of the immigration, we can't offer you any advice. So would also advise that you also speak to the consultant, and she'll be in the best position to advise you when it comes to that. Because it's not based on full immigration, I will just take one last question and we'll take it on from here. So Mike, please send us a message. I'll put our number in the chat box and would advise you on how to navigate and how to move forward with your ask. All right. So we thank you all for being here. We've exceeded our time. It was supposed to end at 12, but we exceeded it to 12:34 right now. Thank you, Peju, for taking out time from your busy weekend to be with us. It was very, very informative, very, very educative. We appreciate you. Please, whoever is interested in any consultancy in terms of immigration guidance and support, please contact Michelle Belle. We thank you all. Starting a career in the UK in construction, which is basically the webinar series. It's a 1 month webinar series where we try to help people starting a career in construction with the right information. We get professionals, we get industry bodies, we get industry regulators to come and speak to us about what it takes to have a career in construction, what you need to know, qualifications you need to have, what level of support is out there, and how we as migrants can benefit from the level of support. I know it's not easy getting settled in the UK. This is why we do what we do, to help migrants navigate, to help migrants settle in, and to also help migrants have a career in the UK in construction. So thank you all for being here. Have an amazing weekend. Do I let you say your goodbye? I think I didn't let you say your goodbye. Please, could you just say your goodbye and thank you all. I wish you all an amazing weekend. And after Peju's goodbye, we are out of here. Thank you all once again.
Well, thank you, George, for having me on your platform and with the opportunity to support sort of migrants in the UK. I mean, I'm a sort of migrant myself. I've walked this journey, and we're quite blessed to be able to sort of support you guys as well towards your journey towards settlement. So you've got our contact details. We can support that and advise you the best way to go. And yes, I mean, you know, you can do well in the UK. It is possible. And have a great weekend, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.